Alright, everybody, welcome to the first ever C3. Now it's not C3 comic show, it's just C3.
It's still C3 comic show.
It's still the C, yeah. It's
Comics are a main thing, but we just have other stuff that we now encompass.
Yeah. We decided to go a new direction with our brand.
We're branching out.
Unlike One Direction.
We're going multiple directions,
Exactly,
which makes us multiple better than that one band.
Story of my life, man. Story of my life.
So,
but yes, this is our podcast. Suppose we should introduce ourselves.
We could, but that kind of defeats the magic. You know, kind of.
Yeah.
I like
Whose
being
voice
mysterious.
is that?
You know?
Yeah.
People don't know who this is.
My name's Kyle, I want everyone to know who I am.
That's Kyle.
I could be anybody right now.
I'm just, there's no video, so, I'm Josh, but you can paint your own picture of what I look like or what I'm wearing.
6'5".
Dreadlocks.
Yeah.
Don't even know.
Huge.
Two of us are playing lapsies.
Yeah.
Try and guess which ones. You get a free t-shirt if you guess right.
That's right.
Coming soon, yeah. C3 Apparel.
Yeah.
Keep an eye out.
That it is.
I think what we should do is we should have people make their own C3 apparel and then just send us the money for likeness rights.
That might
You
work.
print your own shirt.
Because that comic book girl 19 or whatever, I saw this video where she did all this stuff for like all her backers, and she was like, "Oh my god, it's so much hard work getting these t-shirts and these prints and all this stuff," and I was like, that is a lot of hard work. I don't want to do that.
Yeah.
If you just send me your money.
But then that is also what that money is supposed to be for. So,
So you're saying that Kyle's killing anything we have to do with Kickstarter?
yes,
we could go the whole route with I was looking at being a graphic designer years ago, and the whole here's a contest. The winner doesn't get anything, but you're exposed. You get your art. You get your work out there.
That's the Super Bowl, man. Like those people that perform at the Super Bowl every year, they don't get paid anything for that. But they get to perform at the Super Bowl halftime show, so that's a big deal.
And they're even talking about making people pay for that now.
Yeah, pull the slot.
Which
Part of me, it's like, because it is just a big advertising slot.
Yeah.
It is.
And Christ, I mean, what are they charging now? 30 seconds is $1 million or $2 million. So what do you give the 15-minute?
How many people do you think we could reach if C3 had a Super Bowl commercial?
Maybe like 7.
7, 8.
Like people that would actually care and respond.
That's true.
7 or 8. Not, well.
Hey, that's more than Facebook marketing.
Maybe counting us.
Yeah. It's true.
7 people, including the 4 of us that are in this room right now.
Yes.
So.
I can probably get my mom to just pay attention for a minute. But man, so this is our podcast. 2015 is upon us.
We got lots of great stuff coming at you this year.
Yeah.
We do. Big thing I'm just kind of throwing out on the table. As of right now, Star Wars #1 next Wednesday. Over 100 variant covers.
Jesus.
So
Why? Why?
Gotta catch them all, I guess.
Like,
yeah. So if you want them all at $4.99 cover price, so that's $500. Not to mention, well, I'll take that probably times like 3 or times.
because some of them
10.
are going to be hard to find.
Yeah.
So
your $70, your $80, $100.
I can't imagine anybody caring.
no.
At this point, even myself as a hardcore Star Wars fan, I'm sad. I'm like, nope, I'm getting what we're getting for the store. Although I will give Marvel a thumbs up. We got a personalized copy of #1 last week, which I was very excited for. And then quickly had my heart broken when I saw other retailers were already putting theirs on eBay for like $50 to $75, which I thought was quite interesting because they are truly one of a kind. Like ours says Deer and it has our store name in it. And then it's like that's inside the cover. It was printed specifically for us.
That's
and it's
awesome.
Like,
That's
so it's
really
like,
awesome.
how is that not a? To me, that is a one of a kind.
Yeah.
Look that
I would.
I cannot put a value on that. It's like I took that home, put it in my shoebox. I was like, cool.
Yeah.
I was really.
Shoot, but you got to display that, man.
Well,
put that up in your store.
You know, which I will. I gotta get a
Missy, where do you want me to put this picture of you and me that I threw away?
Star Wars.
Oh. Star Wars. Yeah, Star Wars.
The movie doesn't come out till 2016, right?
Oh, it'll be the end of this year, December.
This year.
December.
Sweet.
Come December.
So yeah, I have stories of my dad camping out. So now it's my turn.
Oh,
Right on.
And we'll definitely have a parody for you ready to go. But once again, parodies are a lot of work. So if anyone wants to shoot one, and then superimpose us on it, we will provide you green screen footage.
That's right. That's right.
Yeah,
and give us all the credit.
We've upped our production value, but the problem is we're still learning how to use it. We're having fun, so
We are clown shoes.
Once we stop tripping over our shoelaces, we'll start. We have some really cool ideas for shows, and if you guys have any ideas, obviously, let us know.
Let us know. And for those of you that are listening to this podcast, congratulations on listening to our podcast and for finding our website.
Hey, we got like 30 people that care.
Exactly.
Right.
Yeah.
And
right now we're doing this for us because it's fun, but eventually we're gonna have to do it for somebody.
This is our archive.
Yeah.
This is going in the.
But we're Josh and Turnus are kind of doing their own thing now.
Yep.
Not really. And I don't want to say that it's just them, but they're...
It's our own segment, really, is what it is.
Yep.
Yeah.
We're our own spot on the show.
That's right.
Separate from everything else.
And so for those of you listening to this podcast that haven't, for whatever reason, watched any of the other videos posted...
Why?
On our
For
page,
one. Get on that.
Coming into 2015, expect to see some good stuff. We've got our comics and movies and video games and news.
And I received some Daredevil footage.
Oh?
Yeah.
Exclusive
Yeah,
Daredevil footage?
exclusive Daredevil footage that we will air
Sweet.
prior to the show coming out.
Cannot wait to see that.
Exclusively.
Yeah,
on
exclusive.
C3.
Exclusive.
It's pretty great.
From Netflix Direct.
Yes.
Yep.
Yep.
They are going there. Speaking of upcoming deals, did you guys see anything on this about supposedly Fox announced some more release dates?
I heard Gambit.
Gambit, which they're talking October of 2016.
Which, sorry to interrupt you, but the tweet that, what's his name? Who's Gambit?
It's going to be Channing Tatum.
Channing Tatum put, how do you say whatever that date was in Cajun?
In Cajun, yeah.
And I just want to clarify for everybody.
Cajun is...
Down. Guarantee.
Guarantee. So we have any Southern Louisiana folk listening to this show, please get a hold of Channing Tatum and let him know
How to say it.
But yeah, I don't know about you guys. I'm really excited. Gambit has always been one of my favorites. My biggest fear is Fox is on a path right now of just self-destruction, and I think Disney Marvel needs to step in before this happens. And I wish Fox at this point, why not just pull your head out of your ass? And you would think they have good enough lawyers and whatnot, and it says, hey, you know what, Marvel, you can have this back. You do the film. You know, so essentially you'd sublease the rights back to Marvel.
Right.
And it's like, why not? Why, if for instance, I'm going to release an album and I have somebody standing next to me that says, you know what, I can take 4 of your songs and re-record them for my album and sell 1 million copies. You know what? I will gladly give them those tracks. And my name will still be on them. And I don't understand why Fox just won't let it go.
Well, same thing with Sony and Spider-Man too.
Right.
Well, with Fox, I mean, X-Men, they're still doing an okay job. Days of Future Past is one of the most solid comic book movies this year. You know, I think, was it somebody's number 2?
Number 3.
Number 3?
Yeah.
But it was the best. It was the best non-Marvel comic book movie in a long time.
Easily.
Yeah.
And but yeah, with Fantastic Four, those two were just
And don't they have like a reboot coming?
Yeah, there's a new
Yeah. And then that was kind of the kicker here is that apparently already announced the sequel to the movie that hasn't happened yet. And that's going to be out in June of 2017.
I guess they're just trying to follow suit here with, Marvel and DC's. They're like, hey, we have stuff too.
You turned off the power, Josh. I need power for the notebook.
It's on.
Dude, I didn't
There
turn
it
it
goes.
on.
What?
Cable. All right. Never mind.
Again, we
Technical
have all this,
difficulties.
We have all this equipment and we're tripping over shit. And we're learning to
Not
use it all.
minding.
One day. Anyway.
My thing with that is like, they're announcing the sequel. That's great and all. It was awesome, like back in 2000 when Spider-Man came out and they said, oh yeah, Spider-Man 2 is going to be out in a couple of years. That was great because that was like the first of its kind. But right now, there's so many movies that have been announced that they announced a sequel, and I just can't bring myself to care because there's going to be 18 movies I have to see before that one anyways, so it doesn't matter.
Right. And at this point, like we talked about before, when I personally view this stuff, when studios announce this stuff that far in advance, I have to call bullshit, and I have to, because there's no way. There's so many things and so many factors and variables that can go into filming a movie.
Right.
That on one end you say, here's our deadline, which is going to be good, but then on the other end, it's like, are you essentially giving permission to studios now to just lock up their actors for years on end? Mm-hmm. Which, I mean, that's kind of how they do things anyways, but in this case, like, okay, Channing Tatum, you're Gambit in 2 years. So until then, here's the movies that you can make. You can't do any type of movie that's going to jeopardize that role. And who knows? I mean, he does another G.I. Joe, he does another 23 Jump Street, who knows? Breaks his leg, gets in a car wreck, who knows?
Yeah.
Did they announce when Gambit XXL is coming out?
Well, if this is any indication, I'm guessing July of 2019 then.
Well, I'm sick of that too, because my biggest gripe over the past years with comic book movies has been Sin City 2.
Mm-hmm. Just watched it last night. Finally.
How was it?
I really enjoyed it.
Yeah.
It fits perfect. You could watch it back to back with the first movie. I think it holds up great. But
because Sin City came out and I saw that opening night, I absolutely loved it. It was amazing. Then Robert Rodriguez said, "Yeah, we're gonna do a sequel. We're waiting. We're gonna get on that." And then I went to that came out in 2005, 2006.
I think somewhere in there.
Yeah, I went to Comic-Con 2008. He said, "Yep, we're working on Red Sonja. We're gonna do Sin City 2 right after that." And that was in 2008. It's 2014, or 2014, Sin City 2 finally came out.
Yeah.
They had to replace 2 actors because 2 of them had died in the meantime. Mm-hmm. Brittany Murphy and Michael Clark Duncan.
Yeah.
Yep. And it's, and it was, the movie came out, and I just don't care anymore because it's been 8 years,
Mm-hmm. And that was definitely the struggle I had with it. And like with girlfriend and I watching and trying to explain, and it goes back and forth. It's kind of one of those goofy movies because it's like there's certain scenes that take place before the first story, and there's certain scenes that are 5 years after the first story, and that gets with different actors and their different faces. It kind of messes you up a little bit because then it's like, who was it, Minute that Michael Clark Duncan played, and now it's the Allstate guy.
Yep.
Apologies to that actor, Allstate guy.
No, that thing is paying a lot of checks. I don't think he has anything to be worried about.
No.
He's in good hands.
But, no.
Hey, it had to be done. It had to be done.
But yeah, having huge variables, and like we've talked about before, when you're dealing, it's like, hey, 15 years from now, this is what we're doing. Mm-hmm. And it's like, hell, for all we know, Fox Studios could go bankrupt. For all we know, for all they know, they could get bought out by somebody.
Yeah, well, especially like with where Sony's sitting right too after the hack and the interview thing and all that. Like, they have all these Spider-Man movies announced. They're pretty much not doing Amazing Spider-Man 3 now. I think that's been confirmed.
Because they want to reboot, potentially the reboot.
Yeah.
Which, just let it go.
But at that point, then they're still moving forward with all their other Amazing Spider-Man franchise spin-offs, like the Venom and Sinister Six. So
yeah. which does you no good if you don't have a setup story, a
Yeah.
Spider-Man setup story.
Yeah.
At this point, they've done nothing to establish the Sinister Six.
Yeah.
And then you're going to tell us they get their own movie.
For 4 seconds in Amazing Spider-Man 2 is not a sufficient origin story for a team of 6 villains.
Yeah.
Well, I've been watching a lot of the WWE Network lately. I don't know why it's funny to all of you, but watching the Monday Night War, and this is kind of a thing that really kind of ties it together. Is that they're saying, you know, are you running a race or are you running a sprint?
Mm-hmm.
And to me, because really DC's the one that started all of this,
Right.
And everybody else I think only followed suit because they kind of had to.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Or they felt they had to. I don't think they did, but they felt like they had to.
Mm-hmm.
But that's very much so a sprint move
Mm-hmm.
to, you know, announce all of your movies and stuff they're gonna do Green Lantern in 2020, and it's like we think it's a reboot. You know, we're not sure.
Yeah.
But, you know, like why.
Then what's the point? Why even bother
Yeah.
putting that X on the calendar? And I'm almost wondering what the motivation, and I would love to see some transparency in that department. And if anybody listening to this is involved, awesome. Kick us some insight. But this is the only time I can remember in the last 10, 15 years where the movie industry has just onslaught. You know, has just full on. Here's what we have planned. Here's what's going to happen in the theaters. Here's what's going on.
I think and the big thing with it is that, sorry Josh to interrupt you, but I think that totally is that it's a formula. You know, Hollywood, as we can always see, is very all about formulas, and this is a formula like they feel that they have cracked.
Right.
Or that at least that they feel, you know, that Marvel has perfected, and they say, you know, well, we might not be able to be Marvel, but hell, we can at least, you know, do this. And I think that's kind of how it feels like DC to me is, you know, we can't be Marvel, but, you know, what's wrong with second place?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which, come on, that's the Kyle philosophy of life. Actually, it's like third, fourth.
Yeah, as long as you're on the podium, it doesn't matter.
Yeah. What's wrong with the participation medal?
Everybody gets one.
My worry is that
Where's my dad? Anyways.
so my worry with the whole thing is it becomes, obviously video games and movies are two different mediums, but it becomes like the video game industry. How many times at E3 has this amazing game been introduced and you're so hyped about it, and they're like, oh, we got this
Watch
lockdown, we got everything, and you're so hyped, and then it's boom, it's delayed, or B, it turns out to be absolute crap, and or it's like, or it just never happens. You're like, oh, hey, you know, Marvel talked about this movie, and then all of a sudden it's not there. So,
and that is a great comparison, because you look at now, or even like a Prime. Look at with Arkham Knight, the biggest delay. That was the reason I bought a PlayStation 4. Was I'm like, okay, I had it pre-ordered.
I'd forgotten about that until you just mentioned it.
Yeah,
exactly. That's what's going to happen with these
That was the
movies.
game that got me to buy a PS4. And then just the timing came about where I was able to pick up my PS4 just in time for the Arkham Knight delay announcement. And awesome. Now I'm sitting here waiting for Arkham Knight, which as of right now could be a phenomenal game. And I'm very, very glad that they're waiting. But shit happens.
Yeah.
Those guys, it's like, hey, they said our product will not be ready by this date. And I think that's where the movie industry is right now. You set yourself up for a pretty big...
Yeah.
You know, if you give somebody a set release date and it doesn't happen...
It's huge.
It's huge. Because there's probably signed contracts. There's money involved. There's...
The way I look at it with comic books is if there's a comic movie coming out, you as a comic book store owner, you know that they're going to have a story arc leading up to or coming from that movie.
Ideally.
Look what happened to Guardians of the Galaxies, you know?
Yeah.
That movie... awesome.
Yeah, definitely.
And then,
the
exactly. And then you have, all the books in your store. So if they don't meet that date, now it's not just the movie industry that it's affecting. It's your merchandise, your comic books, it's everything.
Your toys,
It's there, yeah. And
everything.
And that's a prime example. G.I. Joe Retaliation.
Yes, I was just going to say that.
Freaking literal cases of figures and merch that shipped, got recalled, and ultimately thrown away.
Yep.
Because
At the last minute, they were like a 6-month delay.
Yeah. Oh, what good does it? And then half those figures, I think they ended up just tossing them all. I think they recalled
sending them
all.
to Africa along with the Super Bowl loser.
Well, that's
that's kind of the Minnesota Vikings Super Bowl
Yeah.
They have all these,
Why?
10 years in a row.
Yeah.
they have all these dates set now, so that's great. That's all good because it gives people a timeline to work towards. It's always something good to have, is to have a deadline that you need to be done with everything by this time. But at the same point, because there's so much money going into these movies, I mean, these aren't like small movies that they can just delay and it's whatever. These are like hundreds of millions of dollars. Yeah. So what's stopping them from going, you know what, we don't have everything set in place, it's good enough, let's release it.
Ninja Turtles.
Yeah.
Ninja Turtles. And then they're going to release a movie that's not up to par, and they're going to lose money on it, and then they're going to blame us for not going to see it or whatever, and it's just like...
Yeah. Well, and that is the big debacle right now, is so much of this. Where you look at now, a big thing, again, like going on, shit can happen with the studios. What about the theaters? What about, what if something happens in the next 2 years? For all we know, 2 years from now, we might finally have direct digital viewing.
Yep.
Well, there was a really cool idea that I heard at some places that are bigger cities that aren't here that usually have, I think it's through AMC. I might be wrong on this, but basically how it is you pay $35 a month for standard or $45 for any format, and you go to one movie a day, one movie in a 24-hour period, and it's good for a month.
Yeah.
And it's a great deal because, I mean, for the movie theater,
average customer is probably going to actually only see
exactly
one a week.
Exactly, and that, I mean, if you go once a week, it pays off. But the movie theaters make their money from concessions anyway; they don't make it from ticket sales. But then you have that guaranteed membership, because I think that's a huge business model going forward with your Netflix, with Hulu.
Yeah.
Everything right now, as it stands, is monthly cost, a low monthly cost, and
Yep.
I think that's how you get customers. Is you have those
trick
guaranteed
everybody
exactly.
into believing it's in
Exactly. It's like,
Well,
and you have recurring customers that just set on auto pay, they forget about it, boom, easy money. So I think if they come out that format, theaters definitely have. I don't think they're going to go away.
No, movie theaters they'll have a place, but I'm wondering at what point where, like now, and we are very, very fortunate, for us being in North Dakota, and we bitch here, like we have a nice theater, a nice local theater. Actually, I think it's one of the nicest ones I've been in compared to other cities.
Oh yeah, it's
in
grand.
our movies here.
LOL, Josh.
Golden opportunity.
We're going to
Anyway.
do the next podcast without Josh, right?
But even there, we're up to, what are we up to? 10? Yeah, it's $10 a movie now.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
And here, and that's us going, oh, Jesus Christ, $10. And it's like, the last movie I went to at frickin' Mall of America in Minneapolis, I think that's like $18.50 or something.
Yeah.
Ridiculous. It was like $100 for my brother and I to take nephews to a movie,
Yep.
And it's like...
Well, and even that subscription model, I mean, you say $43, and that makes a lot of sense. I don't know if I've ever spent that much on tickets, in a month. But I'll go to the movies. I'll go to the movies a lot more if I know I'm paying for that.
Mm-hmm.
And then, like you said, I'm buying a lot
You're
more
gonna buy
popcorn.
that
I'm buying a lot
$10
more
worth of-
soda.
Yep.
I'm buying a lot more of that. And even though I've seen more content, it really doesn't matter because, they're still getting the same amount of money they would have.
Right.
They're getting even more money.
Even more money.
Yeah,
even though I've seen more content.
Sales. Yeah.
Yeah, I would love to do that. I love going to movies. It's a blast.
And that's I like that. The subscription model does work quite well for many different things. My biggest fear, I guess, with them setting up all these dates, and just going back on what we said, so much can happen, and who's to say? I mean, who's to say that? Marvel right now, I mean, they've already told us as retailers they have a 2-year plan to phase out print. I mean, it's like that is
Really?
as of now, and that is not it's not a definite thing, but they've already they no longer sell a good handful of books to non-comic shops, so they're not selling to like Barnes and Nobles and Targets and stuff anymore. They've already announced essentially $4.99 is that's what they want their comics to be. And as of January's catalog, there's a kind of a dumb amount of books that are $4.99, and even for me as a reader,
Wow.
that's too much.
Yeah.
And if you're going to start telling me that every comic is going to be $5, and their plan is to push everybody to digital and to push everybody, and Marvel personally, when their prices when it comes to comics and their movies and things like that, is like I think they need to get it together, you know, and with Disney as their parent company, I understand profit is number one, but at what point do you listen to your fans and say, hey, you know what, do you want your average reader to buy 4 books, 5 books, let's say 5 books a month at $4 a piece, or do you want them to be buying, you know, 4 books at $5 a piece?
They want you to sign up to their Marvel Now internet
get
subscription
you
for $9.99 a month. It's that
And
subscription based payment, which everything is
and
going
that's a
to right
guaranteed
now.
$120 more
Exactly.
than likely that they'll make.
You know, and that's
And at this point, it's nothing. You eliminate that $120 a person, delete the printing costs of that product, and then that money's ideally on one end. Part of me says awesome, because hey, that's hopefully more money going directly towards the creators, you know, the artists and the writers. But as we all know, with it being Disney and Marvel, there's comic book guys aren't surviving on one book. I mean, that's why every name you see is involved with dozens of projects at a time, because you have to make a living.
The whole digital thing is just really, really weird, because if Marvel stops making comic books and they just go digital comic books only, then it's just a weird price point, because how I understand economics, how it works is supply and demand. Well, if you have ebooks and everyone's paying $10 a month, there's no technical supply. I mean, it's an unlimited supply of ebooks.
And
so
that's a fun argument.
How do you create demand for something that has unlimited supply?
Yep.
Mm-hmm. And that's where my biggest fear, and a lot of retailers, I don't think they'll ever eliminate print, because they do understand that us as retailers, I mean, this is our business. They have a whole sub culture or commerce, network that is based around their product. But then it's like, if they turn around and a year from now they say, you know what, the only comics you're going to get in stores are the movie tie-ins, let's say, or like today we just got or due out tomorrow, we have the Marvel Avengers Part 2, which is a follow-up to the movie, to Avengers the movie, which I think was supposed to come out. Flipping through the book tonight after I got it unboxed. I didn't read it, I just flipped through it, but it's like, I think this is supposed to come out like a week or two after the movie came out. And so it's like, this is going to fill in, information.
They're on that C3 release schedule, huh?
Yeah.
I saw something from that online, like one of the panels when they're in the shawarma shop or whatever.
Yeah.
And Rhodey walks in.
And with stuff like that, and it's like, okay, well, how many people are going to rush out and buy it? And it should be brought up, too, right now, I think we are truly seeing a split market. And a lot of people don't factor that. I mean, Jesus. Guardians of the Galaxy, for instance. Fantastic movie. Made, what, 350, 400 million, something ridiculous. Probably more by now. I haven't seen it after DVD sales, but through the roof. The comics to that, prior to the movie, weren't that big of a deal. After the movie, the titles, the character recognition was there. But I can say I did not have any customers directly come in and ask for that book after saying, I just saw the movie, I want to get into this comic.
Yeah.
The young kids, I tend, like, there's more younger kids that'll come in and they might see a Rocket Raccoon comic and go, oh, that's the guy I saw in the movie. I want to buy that, or I want my parent to buy that.
Yep.
But they weren't looking for it. They weren't. They didn't specifically come into the store and go, "Oh, I didn't realize Star-Lord had a comic. I didn't realize Rocket Raccoon had a comic."
That's what I really like about. I will say that with all the amount of stuff coming out, that's what I'm happy about. Is, I mean, we all know Gambit, but the normal person, I mean, I as a comic fan, a new one perhaps, I didn't know anything about Guardians of the Galaxy. I didn't know who any of those characters were until the movie. And that's just going to get people, like me, who like I've heard of Gambit now because I've gotten more into comics since becoming a comic fan. But it's gonna get the general how many, you know, with Flash or Arrow, how many people knew about them before their series on TV? It brings our culture to another medium, attracts new fans. You know, it's the whole nerdiness thing. It's cool because back in the day it wasn't very popular, but now it's like the cool thing.
Oh yeah, you could bring it up again and again too. But Iron Man and Thor were C players before the movies came out.
Yeah,
they were
very
nobodies.
much so.
Yeah,
and now they're like two of the most popular characters out there.
Yep.
Thor maybe not so much, but definitely Iron Man.
Yeah.
You can argue that Iron Man is more popular than Spider-Man at this point.
I think I would say he is.
You know,
if you theaters, although Spider-Man comic completely destroys the Iron Man comic in sales, but I'm finding that again the comic readers, they're not buying it because they saw the movies,
right?
You know, they're buying it because they're they're Spider-Man fans and because they're, and it has been an overall good book, but they didn't build they didn't come in and build the what do you want to say, like Thor. You know, there weren't people that came in and were asking for it because of Chris.
Oh my god! Oh my god!
Do you
have you seen Thor? I have to have this book.
Yeah, and that's what maybe this next wave, maybe they can work on that. You know, and I personally, I'm kind of biased. I mean, with it being, you know, me being in this business now, and I do look at it completely different. I don't look at it. Well, I still look at it as a fan first, but from a retailer standpoint, it is funny to see how, you know, all this stuff. Well, Avengers is a huge one. I mean, look, that was $1 billion+ movie. Comics on it didn't do shit.
Yep.
You know, Marvel is still trying to stuff like 24 Avengers titles down our throat, and it's like, and people don't care. I hardly sell, and I can't speak on other retailers. We would love to hear from other retailers if you're listening to this. But here it didn't do a thing. I mean, it just Avengers. I only carry a handful of copies. But after last summer, I don't think anybody came in and it's like, oh man, I gotta have, you know.
When I started coming to your shop, when I started getting into comics, I did, but only because of brand recognition. I had no idea where to start, so I figured, why not start with what I know, because I saw the Avengers, et cetera, et cetera. So, I mean, I think it does some good, but it depends.
Well, it definitely
does good, but
it
depends on the person. You know, if like now that I've been into comics, I don't give a damn about the Avengers storyline.
That's something I always loved too, is watching people get into comics and their favorite characters change and evolve. I remember this guy I met a couple years back who was really into Smallville at the time. He was just getting into comics for the first time, you know, feeling his characters out. Superman was his favorite because he watched Smallville, was giving him the show and all that. And then a couple months later, like, Batman became his favorite character. Yeah. And then a couple months later, Spider-Man is his favorite character. And now I haven't talked to him in a while, but I'm pretty sure it's still Spider-Man. So it's just such a weird thing. Like, it's just so interesting, I think, to watch people's interests evolve from, like, get one thing, like, what they know. They get into what they know, and then they actually read the comics, and they realize that what they know is not necessarily what they like the most.
Well, here, and allow Kyle, if you will. Allow Kyle to fix all the problems in the retail comic world.
Okay.
Fix this, Kyle.
Please,
Fix this.
Please.
I'm world renowned, known for my fixing. But if they came to me, they'd be super desperate. Like, this is amazing, but how many thousands of people did you have to go through before you came to me? But anyways,
this Kyle.
They were trolling through Facebook, and they literally just pointed at someone. That's how I got my job. Anyways. Me and Dolph Lundgren. But what I think they need to do is, you have to grab everybody the same way that the movies do. The accessibility. I thought the New 52 was a great thing to do in terms of rebooting everything. I don't think they took it far enough, though. The idea of a soft reboot still kind of leaves me a little bit muffy because... And you can argue that those who are reading Batman, like Batman's the prime example because that was one of the... And Green Lantern, too. Both soft reboots.
Yeah.
You know, because they can kind of rewrite their stuff, but not really. It still did not make those books more accessible to somebody outside of it. I mean, Court of Owls is a good starting point for anyone who's a Batman fan, but I think it's the first page of Court of Owls. You see Bruce Wayne there, and he's talking to, I think, it must be 3 or 4. I don't remember if all the Robins are there, but 4 young men.
Yep.
And if you just know Batman and Robin, why the hell is he talking to 3 other guys?
Yeah.
You know, who are these? Who's Damien? Who's Todd? Who's who's Ben? Who's
Katie.
Who's Katie?
Cassie. What was her name?
Oh, Cass Kane.
Cassie Kane.
I love her.
But anyways, on to fixing.
Yeah, okay.
So you don't know about all this stuff. So I think what they really need to do is they need to advertise comics, because I've never seen an advertisement for a comic. Maybe Super Bowl. Hey.
Yeah.
Let's not put it into that one of those
there
$1 million
really
movies. Let's throw it into comics.
Yeah.
Second is I think you need to take the price down. You know, because if every comic was $2, how much more would people be willing to jump into it?
Yeah.
Right.
You know, because $3 still isn't that much, and I don't mind paying $4 for Batman, but you know, any title that I'm not in love with, like I think United, Justice League United. I'm thinking about canceling that because
it's just not there.
It's not worth.
Well,
$4
and
a
I'm
month
with
to
you.
me.
I think $2.99 is a
Draw the line at $2.99.
Yeah,
Sorry.
draw the line for real. And as a retailer,
Marvel.
Yeah, we're talking to you directly. Because $2.99, and the thing is, $2.99, a 32-page book. In these days, they don't have to rely on in-house advertising, or let me rephrase that. They have their base. Like, remember our books in the 90s? You know, our comics in the 90s and late 80s. Every other page was video game, candy,
sweet
soda, whatever. And it's just like, and I will gladly put blame on Marvel Comics Presents for putting my addiction to Charleston Chew as a kid.
Yeah.
But Marvel Presents your cavities.
Your cavities.
And honestly, I could say, because I've bought a few older comics from your shop when I first started getting into it, because I was like, these are cool. And when I opened them up, I wasn't reading the story. I was looking at the advertisements and like, holy crap, this is cool.
Bubsy. Yeah,
I love Bubsy right there, behind you. Bubsy. But anyway,
it's a time machine.
It's great. But yeah, like, it is a time machine, and I'm a marketing person, so I like seeing advertisements and different ones, and
that's
bring them back
these days, and that brings us there. So at $2.99, no reason whatsoever. Let's say $2.99, a 32-page comic, 8 pages of those, so it'd be a 24-page comic, right? So 8 pages of advertising, in a $2.99 book is more than sufficient. And they price that right. And I think this is where it gets all screwed up, is because, number one, yes, profit. But print costs, it has gone up quite a bit. On the other end, I've thrown out, and I've talked to some customers, and I've always been a big fan for your specials. You have your like $4.99 special, or you have your
annual.
Your annuals. But then if you found, let's say, your sweet, I've taken the approach, the Sweet 16 approach, right? And you say, here's 16 books that we're going to release, and that's all. $5 a piece. Every issue is going to be 48 pages. And if it even if you do that quarterly, or if you do it bi-monthly, and it's going to be 6 $4.99 books a year, so some titles I think that could work with. Others, at $2.99 on a monthly basis. But then, like, you look at like your $2.99 weeklies right now, weekly comics, as a retailer, I'm not a fan of them. The risk is way too high, and it is freaking impossible. You know, there's guys right now, take Batman Eternal, for instance, at $2.99 a week. You know, and it does sell really well for us, but it's all the people that started on it. It was you know, the 25, 30 people that were reading Batman. When Eternal got announced, they're like, yes, I want that. Everybody else that's what was I saying? The people that had it that started at issue 1, and then there's people now where it's like it's up to issue 30 whatever.
40 came out.
Yeah, 40 is going to be due out, and then it's like, oh wow, I see number 40 on a comic. Odds are, I'm just going to go. Oh, if I walked into a shop and didn't know anything about that being a weekly book, and somebody's like, "Yep, that's issue 40." Okay, well, I guess I better find number 1. In my head, well, that means I'm going back a few years and I'm doing whatever.
Yeah.
But I guess the point at $2.99 a month, you know, keep it at 32 pages. Give us stuff worth reading. I mean, some of these books, man, at $4.99, and Marvel's 100% guilty. And it's like, but we can save a podcast just for Marvel rants because, you know, Star Wars #1, $4.99, no reason whatsoever. No reason whatsoever a book #1 should be $4.99 off the bat. And in this case, we're going to be selling 1.5 million copies, and and it's like, yeah, $5 a piece. It's like you just made, you know, you're going to set $750 million is what you guys.
And let's chop our roster too.
Exactly.
We don't need like the new 52 books. We don't need 52 books from the DC universe.
16, 24 max, and people that would allow, like us as retailers. Oh man, if I knew. And if this industry, seriously, and I understand, saturation, it's money. They want their money. But, like, I talk to our rep at Marvel, and I tell them, you know, here's how I have X amount of slots for Marvel on my order. Which ones do you want me to fill it with? You know, a big thing right now, like Death of Wolverine. I won't even get started on that. Pissed me off to no extent. Because the fact, it's like, 4-part event that has 46 issues. Edge of Spider-Verse, great jump on point. 4 issues? No. If you want to read Edge of Spider-Verse, it's 36 or I mean, and it's ridiculous. So why not, like I was talking to our rep, I said, why isn't Death of Wolverine a monthly book? You know, I said just call it Death of Wolverine. And you can have Death of Wolverine is 1 through 4, and then Logan Legacy can be issues 5 through 9, and it's like then it gives me Death of Wolverine gets 1 spot on my wall. I'm not going to give it 8. I'm not going to clear out so I can do Logan Legacy and Weapon X program, or Wolverines starts this week. That's a new weekly one. And
like we said, they really need. You're 100% right. They need to adopt like Stan Lee's philosophy, which he always said: you got to treat every book like it's somebody's first. And I put myself in the shoes of someone who's never read comics before. I go into Juke Joint Comics, located in Bismarck, North Dakota. Wink, wink. And you know, like you said, there's 8 different versions of Wolverine. Where the hell do I start?
Yeah.
Like Batman, you know, there's Batman Eternal, Detective Comics,
Dark Knight Returns,
The Dark Knight. You know, there's all this. You know, there's 4 different books for him alone, and that's not the whole Batverse. That's
speaking from personal experience, being a huge, huge, huge Batman fan. When I finally got my pull list set up, started saying, here's some comics I want to read. Mike asked me, do you want anything Batman? And I said, no. That's too much for me to handle. I mean, I love all things Batman. If it's got Batman, I am all about it. But when there's too many Batman comics out there for a Batman fan, that's a problem.
The thing that I think about is like DC, Marvel, you have your established characters. So, you know, go with them. If you want to establish a new character, fine. But if the comic book, you know, these comic book stores, let some independence in there.
Yeah.
Image makes great comics. Or Dark Horse, they have a few. Or we interviewed Jordan, who's making the Red Lion. Let other people have some space, because
well, right now I can tell you 2015 Image, in my opinion, is going to overtake Marvel in the comic shops.
Oh,
they are going balls out, and I think it's going to work. They are introducing tons of new properties. Just the January catalog, February catalog. We're going to probably be, I think by the end of 2015, we'll be seeing probably 40 to 50 titles from Image.
That'd be great. I'm a huge fan of Image right now.
That's crazy.
They are going nuts, and so far all of them, every new Image book that's come out in the last 6-7 months, they're selling well. They're awesome stories. They've got a good formula. The killer Image by far. Out of all the publishers, they have their trades right. Their volume ones, $9.99 across the board. They sell like mad. Compared to, Marvel, DC, and DC, very guilty. Like Marvel's trade paperback pricing is ridiculous, and DC's, they're killing us with their hardcovers. And Marvel too. Marvel, and they need to get away from this 4-issue, 3-issue. $28.99 for a hardcover book, and it's like,
it's ridiculous.
I'll find those 3 issues in a dollar bin somewhere.
I'm a huge Deadpool fan.
Yeah,
and Deadpool is my favorite superhero. And if you read his weekly comics, he has a story that spans 12 issues, 3 issues, 5 issues. Then they have some new arc. They have some Art of War. There's a lot of arcs, regardless. So they make every one of those arcs into a graphic novel. There is, if I go to like Barnes Noble or even at your store, there's like 17 different graphic novels. They're not connected in any way, but there's no correlation in the price. You can have a 5 for $25, a 3 for $7.99. Like, it's ridiculous.
And that's I think Image has it right. Personally, I think they need to get away from the hardcovers thing. Save the hardcovers for a bigger book. It's like
Sin City.
Yeah, like with them, and then like DC, their graphics. It's usually 4 or 5 issues in a book, but then they do their hardcover, and that usually comes out a month or 2 before the soft cover comes out. But at
and a prime example of that, like you were saying, is Green Lantern Volume 3 is a hardcover. Green Lantern Volume 3, I love everything Green Lantern. I literally have all of all the New 52 stuff. I can tell you that's not a hardcover worthy story.
Yeah.
I mean, it's I think that was the first Lantern saga or something like that. But it doesn't warrant a hardcover. No. It's not The Dark Knight Returns. It's not All-Star Superman. It's not Watchmen. It's not one of these books that is going to be something that I really need to, you know what I got for you, Turnus? I got Green Lantern Volume 3. This is
put it right next to my Larfaz and
Larf, please, number 12.
All right. Well, I think that just killed the discussion there.
Damn you,
Larfleeze kills another.
Larfleeze strikes again. Anyway, so that was the inaugural C3 podcast. I don't know about you guys, but I had a lot of fun. So
yeah.
Indeed.
I think Larfleeze should kill everything we do.
Agreed.
Right there.
It's gonna be like the end of WrestleMania, or not WrestleMania. What was it? Royal Rumble? No, we're
R-Truth.
R-Truth did that little. That's all, folks.
So
we're gonna get Larfleeze doing it. All right, that's all I got.
All right, well then.
All right, well, thanks for tuning in. This is Josh signing off because I don't have a better closing.
This has been Turnus.
This is Mike.
This is Kyle, and I'll leave you with the Orange Lantern Oath. Then, if Larfleeze is going to kill it, what's mine is mine, and mine and mine.
Mmm, tasty.